When I was a kid, there was one game that always confused me. It's not that the game itself was hard or that getting through the levels was difficult to figure out. In fact, if you just move to the right, kill a few enemies, kill a couple of bosses, and then move to the right again, all's well. It just made me question reality, question my sense of self, question the world, really question the Nintendo censors. Today, we're going to play Monster Party until we win. This game frustrates me to no end. The concept is simple. You're a boy named Mark, you've got a weird demon friend and a bat, and you go on an adventure with your demon friend, occasionally transforming into him to help you along the way. The problem isn't the concept. The concept is fine and kinda awesome. The problem is the execution. Yes, you use your baseball bat as your primary weapon, but it has a short reach and it takes forever to kill anything with it. Yes, you can transform into a demon, but almost every monster is custom-made to be beaten with the baseball bat. With the bat, you're actually able to hit enemy projectiles back. It's a neat feature that you didn't see a lot in the NES era. It's also a bit of a problem since the mechanic is all based around timing, and being just slightly off with your attack leads to the projectile shooting off in a direction you didn't want it to go, namely in your own face. I sure as hell like the scenery in this game. It's not beautiful, but it really does stand out. For those of you who don't know, Nintendo had a very harsh censorship program in place for the NES. The fact that this game's scenery is pretty much nothing but corpses, skeletons, and blood is pretty impressive. The music isn't fantastic, in fact it's downright annoying, but it is memorable, so believe me, there's not much else to like about this one. The enemies are simplistic and annoying, the levels are either so simplistic as to be laughable, or so frustrating that you'll want to throw the game card out the window. There's no balance here, and oh, the bosses. This game basically consists of nothing but bosses. There are quite a few of them, and getting past them requires learning what part of the boss is safe to pass through, trial and error, or what part of the screen is safe to stand on, again, more trial and error. Yeah, that's one of the more unfair things about this game. The bosses take up a ton of screen real estate, yet there are often portions of the boss you're expected to be able to just magically jump through. You find bosses by entering their rooms, which are all located behind doors. There are a ton of doors in this game, and most rooms are pretty much empty. You'll spend the better part of this game simply leaving these rooms rather than actually fighting bosses. I guess the designers had larger ambitions for this one than they could handle. Thankfully, there's no time limit in this game, so you can take your time and observe enemies before engaging them. Believe me, it'll save you a lot of headaches if you simply take your time and watch for patterns before heading off and taking damage. I want to say that the developers tried to be funny by giving bosses dialogue boxes before the fight, but it's really just horrible. You'll see what I mean. There are only a few items in this game, so we can get through them quickly. Dr. Mario Pill. This transforms you into Burt, the homicidal maniac of a monster that shoots some kind of laser from its beak. The heart restores 2 units of health. The question mark gives you either a massive health boost, turns you into Burt, or just increases your score. 9 times out of 10, it's just going to increase your score, so this thing is a massive waste of time. Now, since the levels are all basically straight on through, I'm going to skip them and just focus on the bosses, so away we go. Round 1. Big Purple Plant. This one always reminded me of something out of Little Shop Horrors. It's a stationary enemy that just lobs bubbles at you. I'm not entirely sure why a man-eating eggplant shoots bubbles at you, but whatever. If you're Burt at this point, consider yourself tremendously unlucky, because this boss, much like most of the other bosses, is easier with Mark's bat. Simply hit the bubbles back of the plant to take him down. Of course, it is going to take 20 hits to take down the giant plant. After all, bubbles really aren't that effective. The next boss is the giant spider, and this is one hell of a hard boss. You see, he's already dead. So just keep going. The pumpkin-headed ghost begs you not to pick on him, then proceeds to try and kill you. What a nice ghost. His pattern is pretty easy. He floats left to right and back again while spitting out mini pumpkins at you. There's no real trick to beating this guy other than running up and beating him in the head. You can try jumping over him, but since that's the only part of his body that can hurt you, you're better off just walking through his body to get around. Keep it up, and eventually you'll get a key, which lets you move on to round 2. The first boss you'll face is Medusa, and she'll say, "Let's mix it up," before she unleashes a legion of snakes at you. All you need to do is deflect the snakes back to her with your bat, and believe me, a turbo controller comes in very handy here. Once again, about 20 snakes will take care of her. The next boss is the second strangest boss I've ever encountered. This is actually 3 bosses in one, and this boss used to kick my ass as a kid. It's 3 pieces of deep-fried food, and all they do is bounce around the screen and not attack you. The problems. There's nothing to hit back with your bat, so you've got to get in close. You can't jump over the enemies because they're too tall, and there's no part of their bodies that you can walk through. The solution that I never figured out as a kid, just duck. The enemies never actually hit the ground, and you'll never take a hit if you simply just duck. Hitting these guys is even easier than I thought as a kid. Don't attack them head on. Instead, wait until they bounce over you, then jump up and hit them in the back of the head with your bat. Although I'm not quite sure fried food has heads to hit, but whatever. Keep it up, and you'll get to attack the next boss, which is some kind of, well, it tells you that it's time to do some damage. So do some damage. Are you Burt? Well, you should be Burt. All Burt has to do is stand in front of the well and beat it to death with its eye lasers of lasery deathness. If you're Mark, stand a bit away and just deflect whatever the hell it's shooting at you back at it. Round 3. I'd call the next boss a Minotaur. After all, he does have a bull for head and a man's body, but he attacks by giving birth to cows, which attack you. Either deflect the cows back at his head or grab a power pill and wail away at his face with Burt's lasers of death. After that, you'll face off against some sphinx thing. He whines about his legs being asleep, but I don't understand it. All this guy does is charge straight at you and shoot some kind of phlegm. Maybe he just woke up. Either bat the phlegm back at him, or attack his head directly. Keep attacking him, and eventually you'll face off against a giant spider. This was the guy that was dead in round 1, but now he's alive and ready to kick your ass. Well, not quite. He's not exactly a difficult boss to get by. Just hit him with your bat like you're an angry loan shark trying to collect an overdue debt, and you should be good. The giant samurai guy tells you he's a slowpoke, and he is. Well, at least he's honest. Too bad he's trying to kill you. The same strategy applies here as it did with the rest of the bosses. Attack him directly, or just whack his attacks back at him. It's not too difficult. Now, the giant cat boss really isn't any more difficult, mostly because it stands in place and throws kittens at you. Yes, you get to take batting practice with kittens. This is both awesome and terrifying, and I love the game for it. Just keep hitting the kittens back at the cat and get your way on to the next boss. Pray to God PETA doesn't hunt your ass down. The punk rocker is a bit tougher than the last batch of bosses. The only reason he's a touch more difficult is the pattern of the projectiles. Just hit them back or attack the boss directly to take him down. You'll take some more damage this round, but just pay attention to the pattern, you should be alright. Now, the game has been pretty easy up to this point, but now it's gonna get a little more difficult. Round 5. The Dancing Zombies. This boss is literally 2 dancing zombies. The large drum at the top tells you to watch my dance, and guess what? You actually have to watch these 2 zombies dance. No, I'm not kidding. You just stand off to the side and watch them dance. If you hit the zombies, they decompose, reform, and the timer starts all over. Just be patient. Wait for the dance to finish, and be on your way. Believe me, thriller this is not. The Javelin boss isn't the easiest boss in the game, but he's not the hardest one either. The Javelins come at you fast and furious, and they're a bit more difficult to hit with your bat, especially since they're smaller than most of the other projectiles. Timing is key with this boss. Hit the Javelins at the right time, and they'll hit his weak spot. Miss, and they'll sail harmlessly through his head. Just keep at it, and eventually you'll get the timing down and take down this big baddie. Now we come to round 6. This entire level is a maze, and it's a real pain in the ass. Essentially, you've got to figure out how to get to 2 key points in the level, the boss room and the exit. This stage is evil, with tables and chairs that can kill you, random blue fireballs that fall from the sky, and doors that lead back to the beginning of the stage. I'm not gonna lie here, the stage sucks, and it's only hard because you'll probably have to travel through the stage a couple of times before you figure out just what the heck you're doing. It's not as bad as Bebe's Kids, though. If you want an easy way through the stage, then get on GameFAQs and find a map for it. If you've got a pair of balls, though, I suggest manning up and getting through without any help. And that's why I'm not going to tell you how to get through this stage, because I'm a prick. I will tell you about the boss, though. The camouflaged face is one of the more annoying bosses in the game. You've got 4 camouflaged faces on the screen, and only one of them can get hurt. Thankfully, only one of them can hurt you in return. The easiest way to kill this boss is to jump around the screen hitting the faces with your bat until you find the face that takes damage. Just keep it up and avoid the face, and you'll be fine. This will bring you to round 7, and believe me, you can get screwed over in this level real easy, because there's a bug here where the game becomes unbeatable. No, I'm not kidding, but we'll get to that shortly. The first boss is a giant caterpillar named Royce, apparently. He turns into a ball and tries to roll over you. If you're Mark, try to jump over him and attack when he's not rolling around. I highly recommend coming into this battle as Burt, though, since you're able to fly over him and wail away at his head with your lasers, making the fight significantly more easy. Go up a few screens and you'll fight against the Grim Reaper. And I suspect Dracula's next after this, although somehow I don't think Simon Belmont ever fought a big caterpillar. Maybe they'll be in the next Castlevania game. If you have Burt, hover in front of the face and fire away. If you don't have Burt, this is one of the hardest battles of the game. He'll throw skulls at you, which you need to deflect back at him. It's harder to kill this boss than you think, because the skulls come fast and furious, and the Grim Reaper is a bit harder to hit than the other bosses. Keep at it, though, and you will get a key. This time, it's the spider. Again. You could fight this boss, but the problem is that once you beat him, you'll actually lose the key you just obtained, rendering the game completely unbeatable. If you choose to beat the spider, it's basically the same fight as earlier in the game, only he's faster and fires small spiders at you more rapidly. I wouldn't recommend fighting him though, because you actually want to beat this game, don't you? Round 8 is the final level, and man is it tough. There are 3 main enemies here, and they all hate you. Witches that drop magic from the sky, constellations straight out of Draken, and ghosts carrying TNT that explode. The stars and witches, they're fairly easy to avoid. The ghosts, well, they make a beeline towards you and will hunt you down. The only way around them is to time your jumps perfectly so that the explosion occurs just as you're reaching the peak of your jump. It's hard. Really hard. Alright, there were 4 bosses in this level. The first one you'll probably run into is the hand thing. Just deflect the projectiles he fires at you and you should be alright. The Snake Man is the next boss you'll find, and he's just as easy as the hand. Use your bat to deflect the projectiles, or use Burt to completely rape him with your lasers. So you keep heading to the right, and what happens? You find a locked door, but you have no keys. Oh no! What happened? Is this another bug in the game? Well, unlike every other level where you have to move to the right or just straight up all the time, you actually need to start this level off by going to the left to find another boss. A hidden boss, if you will. Still hidden, he is required. This boss is, hands down, the hardest boss of the game. The Giant Dragon. This guy is evil. Pure, unadulterated evil. It doesn't matter if you're Mark or Burt, this snake will literally crawl up your ass and murder you. Try flying around, and he'll simply circle around you and murder you. Try batting at his head, and he'll circle around and murder you. Try getting off a ton of attacks with Burt, and he'll circle around and murder you. You're gonna die. A lot. How do you kill this boss? First, get Burt. Second, get in the lower left-hand corner of the screen, duck down, and fire away. The snake can't circle around you if you're in a corner, and ducking forces him to move away from you, giving you an opportunity to do more damage to him before he kills you. It's tough, and you may actually want to stock up on hearts outside of the boss room before you take him on. Either way, it takes about 20 hits before he goes down. Good luck. You're gonna need it. Once you have the key, do not enter the final door. Instead, stock up on as much health as you can, because once you get through that door, you'll be face to face with the final boss. a gigantic face that shoots eyeballs at you. His weak point is his nose, which makes me think he's some kind of weird deformed dog. You know, when a dog gets hit in the nose, he sneezes endlessly. Yeah, kinda like that, except this guy doesn't sneeze, he just flashes really quick and then shoots more eyeballs at you. Burt is probably the worst option here, since the eyeballs are hard to avoid and they come at you so rapidly. Honestly, you're better off with Mark here, since you'll be able to bat the large eyeballs back at the boss. Yeah, you actually bat dismembered eyeballs. This game is awesome. There are a couple of spots you can stand in to make killing the boss easier, but you're gonna have to pay attention to what's going on. Simply using a turbo controller is probably gonna get you hurt more often than not, since the eyeballs can get through your bat if it's in its post-swing animation. Keep batting the eyeballs back to the big angry dog's nose, and eventually, you'll get one of the coolest endings ever. I seriously don't know how this game got by the Nintendo censors. I mean, you bat around dismembered eyeballs, little kittens with a baseball bat, and in the ending, Mark melts, showing muscles and all into a skeleton and then basically dies. It's just so awesome. It's a hell of a lot more awesome than any of the other Halloween-based games out there, that's for damn sure.